Okay. All right, so we're going to switch gears a little bit, and we're going to go just a tiny bit back in time to, and we've got a lady in the audience who will remember this vividly probably, 2022, and one of our Oldham County residents participated in this. These candidates participated in primary elections, and by KRS 120.095, they were allowed to do hand recounts to check the tech. So we saw 5 candidates do this, and it was legal, and they conducted their audits at the expense of their own campaigns and donations from the public according to the law. So in some cases, courts ordered a significant amount of money to be able to do this. So at the time, Secretary Adams expressed in several public formats his objections and even challenged these suits on behalf of the Secretary of State's office, which we pay for, right? So he vowed to work to change that law to prohibit and or discourage these types of recounts in the future. So if you were the Secretary of State, how do you handle these court actions both in the public eye and in court? Steve, we'll start with you.
First of all, being part of the recounts and witnessing it firsthand, if somebody is so proud of what they do, if you take pride in your work, and especially if you want to defend stuff like, let's say, voting machines, you would have no problem at all with somebody doing a recount. As a matter of fact, you would invite them in and you would say, let me show you how it happens. If I was the Secretary of State and the machines were working what I would think would be properly, I would be more than happy to welcome anybody who wanted to do a recount, because honestly, isn't that the reason we got machines? Convenience? Because it was supposed to be instantaneous results. What happened though? He acts like one of my children, who I know has done something wrong, and who starts throwing insults at my other kids. Key indicator. I mean, the man turns red at Lincoln Day dinners when I call him out on subjects of just voter rolls. I had 2 of his supporters come up to me and say, I can't believe the way he reacted at that Lincoln Day dinner when you mentioned the voter rolls and how he's not cleaning them up, and when you called him out. I said, he should have been able to defend that himself. He doesn't. He runs to the restroom a lot of times, I've noticed, after I'm done speaking. Now he's just not showing up at all. So my point to having a recount is this. If you want to have a recount, they're your elections. Who is he to sit there and tell you that he is the King Almighty, that he will decide when people can do this? And the way he can do that, and get ready folks, because I don't hold back, our so-called supermajority of Republican leadership really needs to quit handing everything he wants to him on a silver platter. He is not a king. He is our Secretary of State. He does not dictate to what we can do. You, the people, are the elections. We, as elected officials, if I am elected, will work for you. That's a key difference. If you wanted a recount, I would say no problem at all. Let's do the most cost-efficient thing. If there's a mistake, if we've made a mistake, I'll own it. Not blame it on the county clerks, because let me tell you, that's what happened during the recounts. I learned so much in those recounts. When they brought those machines in the room, and by the way, they were supposed to be under video surveillance. The only room in the Campbell County Courthouse that did not have surveillance, that's where the machines were stored. And when I questioned them, they said, we had a piece of tape on the door. Well, in that case, but when we got in there, 60% of those machines did not have seals on them. And they're required by law to. And when we brought that out, the Board of Elections attorney and the Secretary of State's office threw the county clerks under the bus. They said, we can't be held responsible. These people don't understand really the law, and they're so busy. It's so hard to find good volunteers. I don't care. It's the law. That recall or that recount should have been done and closed right then, and a new election should have been called, because those machines didn't have seals on them. But the judge heard it and said, makes sense. We can't really hold everybody accountable for that. Say what? And then to hear our Secretary of State now go on and say, I'm going to make it harder to do recounts. It's just the opposite of what it should be. He should be making it easier. His slogan was, easy to vote, hard to cheat. I jokingly say it's easy to cheat and hard to vote with him.
So Alan, what would you do?
The law is the law is the law. That's why Section 120 was put in place, I believe, in 1974. Because of corruption that was dealing with elections, vote buying, and everything down in Eastern Kentucky. Let me tell you, this is the biggest reason why I got involved. I made that decision to run for Secretary of State the day after Fancy Farm. I watched what happened in Northern Kentucky. I watched what happened here. I watched what happened in LaRue County. Let me tell you, he was only doing the work for the leadership of the Republican Party, and I'll tell you why. 2018, one of the favorites of the Republican Party, he was state representative in Owensboro, lost by one measly vote. So they did the recount. 12,000 votes they recounted for $7,000. In Bullitt County, where I'm from, the jailer asked for a recount. $7,000, 12,000 votes. I have never seen in my lifetime be involved in politics since 1980, when I first got involved. The Secretary of State sued somebody over a recount. I just don't remember. And then the only people that he sued was Republicans. By the way, I thought it was more than 4. I thought it was like 7 or 8. It was 7, I think it was 7. There would have been more. Because we had a lady ran for Congress that lost by 34 votes. He sued to make sure that she didn't get a recount. What? And what was it, 13 Democrats that got the recounts? Why didn't you go after them? Isn't that right? 13 Democrats? Why didn't you go after them? But the problem of it is that some of these people, they ended up paying $50,000, $20,000, and I think that has a lot to do with maybe Adams made a suggestion. I'm not going to say that if he did, but these judges, they knew better than that. And I'm going to give my county clerk, and I understand both Oldham County and Bullitt County took a lot of heat from Mr. Adams over this last election. Well, he's the reason for the fault. Why you have less precincts. I called him out on it. So did my county clerk. But here you go. In our recount in our county, let me tell you what my county clerk did. Accused himself. Gave it to the judge. The judge got all the people who's going to count. They took the ballots by themselves over here to the side. And they counted the ballots, put down the number. And they looked at what the machine was. And if it was off by 1 or 2 votes, then they ran back through the machine to get a perfect information. Get the information correctly. And I thought it was a smart move. Take the county clerk out of the whole thing, give it to the judge, and have the people count. First, count those ballots, hand ballots. Count them. And then see what that machine has to say. See if the numbers match. But anyhow, I just think that Mr. Adams overdid himself, and he did the bidding for some of the leadership of the Republican Party. And I think that's just a shame. The Secretary of State has no business being involved, technically, like what he did with those recounts. Those people paid for those recounts. Get the job done. Because if he'd have left it alone, this stuff would have been done at the end of June. We went back as far as August and September, and it has a hard time for these county clerks to get these ballots printed out because of that. Well, who's at fault there? He is. He spends state money. We don't need to be doing that anymore.